The CEO, the psychologist, and the unspoken truth. Attention, if you've ever felt the pain of betrayal and the strength of motherhood, hit like on this video and subscribe to our channel. The story of Sebastian in Seattle will move you. The impactful hook. Family resemblance. "Dad, are you really taking us on your date?" asked Sophia, looking at her father with a mix of curiosity and concern as she brushed her hair in front of the mirror. Sebastian Hayes adjusted his tie for the third time. Nervous. At 30, he had built a tech empire from scratch, but the idea of a date made him more anxious than any board meeting. "Yes, my love. If she can't handle the three of us, then she's not worth it," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Valentina, 6 years old, clutched her teddy bear tightly. "What if she doesn't like us?" she murmured in a small voice. Sebastian's heart squeezed. Since Elena's death 3 years ago, his daughters had developed a deep fear of abandonment. He had too. "Then it will be her loss, princess. We are a package deal." An hour later, at the elegant restaurant in downtown Seattle, Sebastian watched the entrance as his daughters played with napkins. Carlos, his partner and best friend, had insisted so much on this blind date that he had finally given in, but with his own conditions. "There she is," he murmured when he saw a blonde woman in a chic beige dress walk in. Isabella Reed walked toward their table, smiling nervously. Sebastian prepared for the typical reaction of surprise or discomfort upon finding 2 children instead of a traditional romantic date. But what happened next left him speechless. "Hi," Isabella exclaimed, and instead of heading towards him, she immediately knelt down in front of the girls. "You must be the most beautiful princesses in all of Seattle." Sophia and Valentina looked at each other, surprised by the genuine warmth in the stranger's voice. "I love your dress," Isabella told Sophia. "And that bear," she added, addressing Valentina, "looks very special. What's his name?" "Fuzzy," Valentina replied shyly, but with a small smile. "Fuzzy, what a perfect name. I bet he's very brave and takes great care of you." Sebastian watched them from above, completely thrown off. In 3 years, no woman had managed to make his daughters comfortable so quickly. Isabella finally stood up and extended her hand. "You must be Sebastian. I'm Isabella. Sorry I'm a little late. The traffic was terrible." "No problem," he managed to say, shaking her hand and feeling a strange warmth in doing so. During dinner, Isabella behaved as if she had known the family all her life. She asked Sophia about school, listened attentively while Valentina told her about her favorite teacher, and when the little one spilled juice on her dress, Isabella not only didn't get upset, but reassured her with a smile. "That happens to me all the time," she told her, gently wiping the stain. "I once spilled coffee in a very important meeting, and everyone thought it was the end of the world. But you know what? They ended up laughing, and it was the best board meeting we ever had." The girls laughed at her stories, and Sebastian found himself relaxing for the first time in a long while. Isabella was a child psychologist, and it showed in the natural way she connected with the girls. "I work with kids every day," she explained, "and each one teaches me something new. They are much smarter than adults give them credit for." "Really?" Sophia asked, her eyes shining, completely serious. "For example, you've already taught me that the best dinner companions are the people who make you feel at home." Sebastian felt something stir in his chest. It had been a long time since he had seen his daughters so relaxed and happy with someone new. When Isabella excused herself to go to the restroom, Sophia approached her father. "Dad, I really like her. She reminds me of someone, but I don't know who." "Oh, really?" Sebastian asked. "Yes, she has something familiar." Before he could answer, his phone vibrated with a message from Carlos. "Hope it's going well. By the way, her full name is Dr. Isabella Reed Montenegro. Thought you should know. Sebastian felt as if the world had stopped. Montenegro, the maiden name of Elena, his deceased wife. His hands trembled as he put the phone away. Was it possible Isabella was related to Elena? Her cousin, perhaps? Elena had mentioned distant cousins, but he had never met them. "Are you okay, Dad?" Valentina asked, noticing his paleness. "Yes, my love, just a little tired." Isabella returned to the table with a radiant smile, completely oblivious to the storm that had erupted in Sebastian's mind. "Where were we?" she asked, sitting down again. "We were talking about your job," Sebastian replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Oh yes, I love what I do, especially helping families who have gone through difficult losses. Children are incredibly resilient, but they need the right support to process their emotions." Sebastian stared at her. Did she know something about him? About Elena? Or was it just a terrible coincidence? "It must be very rewarding work," he managed to say. "It is, although it's hard sometimes. I lost my fiancée a few years ago, and, well, that helped me better understand the grief of my patients." Sebastian's heart raced. She had lost someone too. There was pain in her eyes, but also a strength he recognized. "I am so sorry," he murmured. "Thank you. It was difficult, but it taught me that life is very fragile and that you have to cherish every moment with the people you love." She looked at the girls tenderly, and they smiled back. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur for Sebastian. Isabella remained perfect with the girls, making them laugh and listening to them with genuine attention. But his mind couldn't stop dwelling on the name Montenegro. When they said goodbye at the restaurant door, Isabella knelt to hug the girls. "It was a pleasure meeting you, princesses. I hope to see you again soon." "Us too," Sophia exclaimed. "Will you come back?" Valentina asked hopefully. Isabella looked at Sebastian, who nodded slowly. "If your dad wants me to, I would love to see you again." After Isabella left, as they walked to the car, Sophia took her father's hand. "Dad, why did you get sad during dinner?" Sebastian stopped, surprised by his daughter's perception. "I didn't get sad, my love." "Yes, you did. After you went to the bathroom, you had the same face as when you look at Mommy's pictures." Sebastian's heart squeezed. His daughters knew him too well. "It's just that Isabella reminded me of someone." "Mommy?" Valentina asked. "Maybe, I'm not sure." That night, after tucking the girls in, Sebastian stayed awake staring at the ceiling. What should he do? Investigate if Isabella was truly Elena's relative? Ask her directly? Or was it better to leave things as they were? One thing was certain. He hadn't felt such a strong connection with someone since Elena, and his daughters had accepted her as if they had known her all their lives. But the name Montenegro tormented him. If Isabella was Elena's cousin, what did that mean for them? Was it appropriate that he felt what he was feeling? He got up and went to the window, looking at the Seattle lights. Somewhere in the city, Isabella was probably also awake, thinking about the strange family she had met that night. What he didn't know was that she, too, had felt something familiar in them, something she couldn't explain, but that made her feel like she had come home. The seed of doubt. The following days were torture for Sebastian. Every time his phone rang, he hoped it was Isabella, but he also feared that call. Finally, she made the first move. "Hi, Sebastian. It's Isabella." Her voice sounded a little nervous. "I wanted to thank you for the night. I had an incredible time with you all." "We did too," he replied, feeling his pulse quicken. "In fact, the girls haven't stopped asking when they'll see you again." "Really?" The joy in her voice was genuine. "I would love to see them soon. How about we go to the park this Saturday? I know one that has incredible swings." And so began a routine that felt natural from the very first moment. Weekends became special with Isabella. She not only accompanied their family outings, but seemed to anticipate the girls' needs better than many people who had known them for years. During these weeks, Sebastian discreetly investigated. He checked old photos of Elena, searched family documents, even called his deceased wife's sister to ask about distant cousins. But the answers were vague. Elena had many cousins on her mother's side. Most lived far away and had lost touch. "Have you found anything?" Carlos asked him one afternoon at the office. "Nothing concrete, but the name can't be a coincidence." "Brother, maybe you're overthinking it. What does it matter if they're distant relatives? The important thing is how you feel about her." But Sebastian couldn't simply ignore it. One afternoon, while Isabella was helping Sophia with a school project on family trees, he decided to ask subtle questions. "Is your family from Seattle?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "No, we're originally from Bogota," Isabella replied, without looking up from the project. "Although my grandmother always said we had families scattered throughout the country. The Montenegros were a large family, but over time, you know how it is, families disperse." Sebastian's heart raced, but he remained calm. "Did your grandmother tell you much about the family?" "A little. She was very private about those things. She said the past was the past, and the present was what mattered." Isabella looked up and smiled. "Why so many questions about my family?" "Simple curiosity," he lied. "I like getting to know you better. Sometimes I feel there's something familiar about you, but I don't know what it is." "I feel the same way," Isabella admitted. "Since the first day I met you, I felt like I already knew you, especially the girls." They looked at each other for a moment, both sensing there was something deeper to the connection, but neither knowing exactly what. "Maybe we were just meant to meet," Isabella said finally. "Maybe," Sebastian agreed, although the word meant gave him a chill. The conversation flowed to other topics, but that night, as Isabella helped tuck the girls into bed, Sebastian couldn't help but observe her every gesture, the way she sang Valentina a lullaby that Elena used to sing. How did she know Sophia's routine for getting organized for the next day exactly? It was as if she had always been there. 2 weeks later, while Isabella was reviewing reports on the sofa and he was working on his laptop, she looked up. "Sebastian, I have to tell you something." The serious tone in her voice immediately alarmed him. "What is it?" "I was offered a job in Barcelona." Sebastian felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. "What?" "It's at Sant Joan de Déu Hospital. It's one of the most prestigious pediatric hospitals in Europe. It would be directing the entire department of child psychology. That's incredible," he managed to say, though his voice sounded hollow. "Sebastian, I haven't said yes, but it's an amazing opportunity. You can't turn it down because of us." Isabella looked at him with frustration. "What if I want to turn it down because of us? What if I found something here that is worth more than any job?" "Isabella, no, let me finish. These 3 months have been the happiest of my life since David died. You 3 have given me back something I thought I had lost forever." Sebastian stood up and began pacing the room. "But it's your career. It's your future. You are my future," she said firmly. "You are my future." She walked up to him and took his hands. "Unless you don't feel the same way." "How can you ask me that?" His voice broke. "Of course I feel the same way. I love you, Isabella. The girls love you. But I can't ask you to sacrifice your career. You're not asking me. I'm telling you I want to stay." They kissed with desperation, as if to seal a promise. But even in the midst of that perfect moment, Sebastian couldn't help but feel something standing between them. The next day, Isabella met with the girls to talk to them about the job offer. Sebastian had insisted that they also had the right to an opinion. "Would you go very far?" Sophia asked in a small voice. "Yes, very far. Across the ocean." Valentina started crying silently. "Why do all the people we love have to leave?" she asked with a broken voice. Isabella hugged her, her heart breaking. "I'm not going to leave, my love. I'm not going to leave." "You promise?" Valentina asked. "I promise." Isabella looked at Sebastian over the girl's head. He nodded almost imperceptibly. That night, after the girls fell asleep, Isabella called the hospital in Barcelona and turned down the offer. Sebastian tried to convince her to reconsider, but she was firm. "I've made my decision. My place is here. What if you regret it? What if you stop loving me?" she replied. "Life is full of what-ifs, but I prefer to bet on something real I have now than on something uncertain I might have in the future." They hugged in bed, but Sebastian couldn't sleep. For the first time since he met her, he felt completely selfish. Isabella had turned down the opportunity of a lifetime for them. What he didn't know was that Isabella wasn't sleeping either. For the first time in a long time, she had been afraid of losing something, and that fear had made her make a decision that, in a few weeks, would test everything she believed about love, destiny, and sacrifice. They both stayed awake, each on their side of the bed, feeling they had crossed a line that had no return. For better or for worse, they were now fully committed to each other. But secrets have a way of coming to light, especially when least expected. Chapter 5: The Unveiling of Fate. A week after turning down the Barcelona offer, Isabella noticed something had changed in Sebastian. He was quieter, more distant, and sometimes she caught him looking at her with a strange expression she couldn't decipher. "Are you okay?" she asked one night while they were cooking dinner together. "Yeah, just tired from work," he replied. Gaze. But Isabella knew him too well now. There was something else. "Sebastian, if you feel guilty about Barcelona, it's not that," he interrupted. "It's just that sometimes I feel like all of this is too perfect, like it's too good to be true." Isabella stopped chopping vegetables and turned to him. "What do you mean?" "Forget it." But Isabella couldn't forget it. That feeling that Sebastian was hiding something grew, especially when she caught him several times looking through old photo boxes when he thought she wasn't watching. It all came to a head one Saturday afternoon. Sebastian was out with Carlos, and the girls were at their paternal grandmother's house. Isabella was alone in the apartment, something that rarely happened, when she decided to look for a photo album to show Valentina later. As she searched Sebastian's closet, a box accidentally fell, spilling its contents onto the floor. As she picked up the photos, one in particular caught her eye. It was an old family photo, obviously from a gathering or celebration. In the center was a beautiful brown-haired woman who looked a lot like Sophia. But what froze her was recognizing some of the people in the photo. One of the young women in the corner was identical to her cousin Carmen, whom she had seen in her grandmother's photos. And the woman in the center looked so much like the photos her grandmother had of the Montenegro family. With trembling hands, she flipped the photo over. On the back, in feminine handwriting, was written, "Montenegro family reunion, Elena with her cousins, 1995. Isabella was paralyzed. Elena. Sebastian's dead wife was named Elena, and this was a reunion of the Montenegro family. Her family. The sound of the front door broke her shock. She quickly put the photo in her purse and tried to recompose the others in the box. "Isabella?" Sebastian shouted. "Are you here?" "In the bedroom," she replied, trying to sound normal. When Sebastian walked in, she was finishing closing the box. "What are you doing?" "A box fell while I was looking for the girls' album. I already fixed it." Sebastian looked at her suspiciously, but said nothing. That night, Isabella couldn't concentrate on anything. During dinner, while Sebastian told the girls about his day with Carlos, she kept looking at him, trying to understand. Did he know about the family connection? Was that why he had been asking so many questions about her family? Did their relationship begin because she looked like Elena, or because she was Elena's family? After tucking the girls into bed, Isabella decided to confront him. "Sebastian, we need to talk." "Of course, about what?" Isabella pulled the photo from her purse and placed it on the coffee table. Sebastian paled when he saw it. "Where did you find that?" "In your closet. A box fell and—" Her voice broke. Did you know Elena was my cousin?" Sebastian closed his eyes and sighed deeply. "I suspected it. Since when?" "Since the first night. Carlos texted me your full name." Isabella stood up from the sofa, furious. "And you didn't tell me anything? For 3 months you've been lying to me?" "I wasn't lying to you. I didn't know how to tell you." "Tell me what? That this whole relationship is because I look like your dead wife? That you chose me because I'm her family?" "No, that's not it at all." Sebastian stood up and tried to approach her, but Isabella backed away. "Then what is it, Sebastian? Because now I understand why everything felt so familiar, why the girls accepted me so quickly, why I instinctively knew how to care for them. Because they are your family," Sebastian said softly. "We are your family." "But I didn't know that," she cried. "You did know, and you let me fall in love with you without telling me the truth." Isabella began gathering her things, which had been scattered around the apartment during those months. "What are you doing?" "I'm leaving," she said. "Isabella, please, we can talk about this." "No, Sebastian, we can't. Because I don't know what's real and what isn't. I don't know if you love me or the memory of Elena. I don't know if this family accepted me because I'm Isabella or because I'm a Montenegro." Sebastian followed her as she packed. "What about the girls? Are you going to break their hearts too?" Isabella stopped, a blouse half folded in her hands. "It's better now than later, before they get more used to me. They're already used to you. They already love you. And I love them," she whispered. "But this is wrong. I feel like I've been replacing Elena without knowing it." "You're not replacing anyone." Isabella looked at him with pain. "How can I be sure of that? How can you be sure?" Sebastian didn't know how to answer, because if he were completely honest with himself, he wasn't sure where his feelings for Elena ended and his feelings for Isabella began. Isabella finished packing in silence. When she reached the door, she turned one last time. "If you had told me the truth from the beginning, maybe things would have been different. Isabella, take care of the girls. Tell them I love them, but I need time to understand all this." "How much time?" Isabella looked at him, her eyes full of tears. "I don't know," and she left, leaving Sebastian alone in an apartment that suddenly felt empty and cold without her. The next day, when the girls returned and asked for Isabella, Sebastian didn't know what to tell them. How to explain that the woman they had started to see as a mother had left because he had kept a secret too long. "When is Isa coming back?" Valentina asked during breakfast. "I don't know, my love." "Did you do something bad, Dad?" Sophia asked with that perception that sometimes scared him. Sebastian looked at his daughters, those two small people who depended entirely on him, and for the first time in a long time, he felt like a complete failure. "Yes," he admitted, "I did something very bad." And as the girls looked at him with confusion and sadness, Sebastian promised himself he would find a way to fix things. Because he had lost Isabella once, and he couldn't bear the thought of losing her forever. But what he didn't know was that Isabella had her own discoveries to make, and the complete truth was much more complicated than either of them imagined. Chapter 6. The Unbreakable Bonds, 2 months. 60 exact days since Isabella had left, and Sebastian counted them one by one. The apartment felt like a museum where every corner held memories of her. The coffee cup that remained in the dishwasher because he didn't have the courage to put it away. The storybook she had brought for the girls. The blanket she used to snuggle on the sofa on Sunday afternoons. The girls had gone through all the stages of grief. First, denial. "Isa is coming back tomorrow, right, Dad?" Then, anger. Sophia had an epic tantrum when she realized Isabella wasn't going to show up for her piano recital. Then, sadness. Valentina had cried for an entire week, clinging to her teddy bear and asking what they had done wrong. And now, the worst of all, resignation. The girls no longer asked for Isabella. They had returned to that quiet sadness they had after Elena's death. And that broke Sebastian more than anything. At the office, Carlos confronted him one Friday morning. "Brother, this can't go on. You're destroying your company, your family, and yourself." "I don't know what you're talking about," Sebastian mumbled, looking past the financial reports on his desk. "Are you serious? Yesterday you yelled at Patricia for a mistake you made. On Tuesday you canceled the board meeting with the Japanese investors for no reason, and the girls—" "Sebastian, the girls are like zombies." Carlos sat down opposite him. "Do you know what Sophia told me yesterday when I picked her up from school?" Sebastian looked up fearfully. "She asked me if all adults lie. I asked her why, and she told me her dad lied to Isa, and Isa left. So now she doesn't know if she can trust what adults tell her." Sebastian felt as if a knife had been plunged into his chest. "I didn't know what to say," Carlos continued, "but I think you have to fix this. If not for yourself, for them." "And how?" "Isabella won't answer my calls. She changed her number. I don't even know if she's still in Seattle." "Then find out. Look for her, fight for her." That night, after tucking the girls in, Sebastian stayed in the living room looking at a photo Isabella had left behind. It was a picture of the four of them in the park, all smiling, like the perfect family they had been for a few months. Sophia walked into the living room in her pajamas. "Dad, can't you fix things with Isa?" "It's complicated, my love. More complicated than when your computer breaks and you fix it." Sebastian almost smiled for the first time in weeks. "Much more complicated. But if you love her and she loves us, why can't you be together?" "Because Dad made a very big mistake." Sophia climbed onto the sofa and snuggled against him. "Can you tell her you're sorry?" "I already told her, but in person. Mommy always said important apologies have to be in person." And there it was, the simple wisdom of an 8-year-old girl who saw clearer than he did. Meanwhile, in Barcelona, Isabella was living her own nightmare. She had contacted the Sant Joan de Déu hospital, explaining that she had a change of circumstances, and miraculously the position was still available. They gave her 2 weeks to join, but since arriving in Spain, she hadn't had a single good day. Her apartment was beautiful, but cold. Her colleagues were professional but distant, and her job, which had always been her refuge, now felt mechanical and meaningless. Every night after work, she stayed in her apartment looking at photos of Sebastian and the girls on her phone. She had blocked his number, but she compulsively checked his social media, looking for signs of how they were doing. What she saw broke her heart. In the few photos Sebastian had uploaded, the girls looked sad. They no longer had that special light they had developed during the month she was with them. One night, she couldn't take it anymore, and she unblocked Sebastian's number. There were 47 voicemails from him, ranging from desperate pleas to long explanations about Elena and the family. The last one, from just a week ago, made her cry. "Isabella, I know you're not going to answer me, but I need you to know something. I found a letter Elena wrote to me before she died, a letter I had never opened because I was afraid of what it would say. But I opened it last night and she mentions you. She knew who you were, and she had hoped we would meet someday. Not as an obligation, but because she believed we could understand each other, that we could be happy together. If you ever want to hear everything the letter says, I'll be here. The girls ask about you every day. We miss you." Isabella replayed that message 10 times that night. The next day, she decided to do something she had been avoiding: investigate her own family. She contacted a genealogist in Colombia and gave him all the information she had about the Montenegros. The results came a week later, and what she discovered left her breathless. Not only was Elena her cousin, but Elena had tried to contact her shortly before her cancer diagnosis. The genealogist had found emails Elena had sent to different psychological clinics in Bogota, looking for Isabella Montenegro, child psychologist. But the most shocking discovery was that Elena had left a specific inheritance for my cousin Isabella, an inheritance that had been waiting for her in a lawyer's office in Seattle for 3 years. Isabella was paralyzed reading the report. Elena had been looking for her. She had wanted to reconnect with her before she died and had left something for her. With trembling hands, she called the lawyer in Seattle. "Ms. Reed, we've been trying to locate you for years," the lawyer told her. "Your cousin Elena Brooks left very specific instructions that this inheritance could only be delivered to you personally." "What kind of inheritance?" "I can't give you details over the phone, but I can tell you it includes personal items, family photographs, and a letter addressed specifically to you." Isabella hung up, her heart pounding violently. Elena had left something for her, a letter. That night, for the first time in 2 months, Isabella made a decision that wasn't based on fear or confusion. She bought a ticket back to Seattle. She had to know what Elena had wanted to tell her. She had to understand the whole truth before she could decide what to do with the rest of her life. And maybe, just maybe, she had to see those 2 girls who had stolen her heart and the man who had made her feel whole for the first time in years. The plane left in 2 days. 2 days to gather the courage to face everything she had left behind. 2 days to decide if she was ready to fight for the family she had lost. Chapter 7. The Unbreakable Truth. 6 months had passed since that rainy day when Isabella had returned from Barcelona with a heart full of doubts and a suitcase full of hopes. 6 months since she had read the letter Elena had left her, those pages written with a trembling hand, but full of love and wisdom. "My dearest cousin Isabella," the letter began, "if you are reading this, it means we finally met, although not in the way I expected. I have been looking for you because I believe you and my family are destined to be together, not out of obligation, but out of love. Sebastian is a good man who will need support when I am gone. My girls will need someone who understands them as only another woman can. And you, dear cousin, need a family that loves you as you deserve to be loved. I don't feel this is a betrayal of my memory, but the fulfillment of a deep wish, that the people I love find happiness together." Now, on a sunny Sunday morning, Isabella woke up in the bed she shared with Sebastian, in the apartment that no longer felt like his, but like theirs. Through the window, she could hear Sophia and Valentina laughing in the garden with Carlos's children, who had come over for breakfast. "Good morning, Mrs. Hayes," Sebastian murmured against her neck, hugging her from behind. Isabella smiled. They had decided to get married 3 months after her return, in a small but perfect ceremony in the backyard of the new house they had bought together. A house with enough space for the girls to grow up, with an office where Isabella had set up her private practice, and with a garden large enough for gatherings. "Good morning, husband," she replied, turning to look at him. "Are you ready for today?" Sebastian smiled nervously. Today was the day of the big revelation. After months of secret planning, they were finally going to tell the girls about the baby they were expecting. "Are you ready?" he asked, placing his hand on the small bump that was just beginning to show. "More than ready." They went down to the kitchen where the girls were already having breakfast. Sophia, now 9, had grown so much that sometimes Isabella was surprised to see her. Valentina, 7, had lost much of her shyness and had become a confident, cheerful girl. "Can we go to the park after breakfast?" Valentina asked. "Sure, but first Isa and I want to talk to you about something important," Sebastian said. The girls looked at each other. After everything they had been through, they were still cautious when adults had something important to say. "Is it something bad?" Sophia asked. "No, my love, it's something very good," Isabella assured them. But we want you to sit down so you can listen carefully." The girls sat down in the living room, looking at them expectantly. "Do you remember how you always said you would like to have a little brother or sister?" Sebastian began. Both girls' eyes widened. "Really?" Valentina shouted. "Are we going to have a baby?" Sophia asked incredulously. Isabella lifted her blouse slightly, showing her small belly. "Yes, you are going to have a little brother or sister in 6 months." What followed was an explosion of screams, jumps, and hugs. Valentina couldn't stop touching Isabella's belly, talking to the baby as if it could already hear her. Sophia, more mature but equally excited, was already making plans on how she was going to help take care of the baby. "What are we going to name him?" Valentina asked. "Well, we don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet," Isabella explained. "But we want you to help us choose the name. If it's a girl, we could name her Elena," Sophia suddenly suggested, and everyone fell silent. Isabella felt tears in her eyes. After all this time, the girls had found the perfect way to honor their biological mother, without denying the love they felt for Isabella. "I think that's a beautiful name," Isabella whispered. "And if it's a boy?" Valentina asked. "How about David?" Isabella suggested, thinking of her deceased fiancé. Sebastian nodded, understanding perfectly. Both had learned that love does not replace previous love, but rather adds to it. The rest of the day was a celebration. Carlos and his family joined the impromptu party, and the house was filled with laughter, plans, and dreams for the future. That night, after the girls fell asleep completely exhausted from the excitement, Sebastian and Isabella sat on the balcony of their new house, looking at the Seattle lights. "Did you ever imagine we would end up here?" Isabella asked. "Never," Sebastian admitted. "But I can't imagine being anywhere else. Sometimes I feel Elena is watching us, and she's happy we found this path." "I feel it too," Isabella confessed, as if she orchestrated everything from the beginning. Isabella smiled, placing her hand on her belly. "Do you think the girls are going to be good older sisters? Are you kidding? They're already fighting over who's going to change the first diaper." They laughed together, and in that moment, Isabella knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be. Elena's letter had been right. It wasn't about replacing the past, but about building a future where love multiplied instead of divided. 6 months after almost losing everything over a secret, they had built something even more beautiful and solid. A family that was born from pain, but had flourished in joy. A family that understood that true love knows no limits of blood, time, or circumstances. And as the city lights shone before them, the 4 members of the Hayes Reed family slept soundly, protected by the love that had brought them together, and the promise of all the adventures still to come. In a few months, there would be 5. Isabella knew that no matter what the future held, they would be ready to face it together, because some families are born, others are chosen, but the best families are the ones built with love, patience, and the unwavering faith that destiny sometimes has more beautiful plans than we could ever imagine. Part 8. The Unscheduled Heir. The Arrival of David and the New Balance. The next 6 months passed quickly, filled with the delightful, chaotic anticipation of a growing family. The house that once felt like Sebastian's or Elena's was now undeniably theirs, permeated by Isabella's soothing presence, the girls' boisterous energy, and the quiet excitement for the baby's arrival. When the time came, Isabella's labor was long, but filled with the unwavering support she had lacked during her time of isolation. Sebastian was a rock, applying the same intense focus he used in negotiations to coaching her breathing, only occasionally breaking into a panicked sweat when he realized he was about to witness a miracle. The result of this shared effort was was a beautiful baby boy. As Sophia had requested, he was named David, in honor of Isabella's first great love, acknowledging that true love only multiplies. David Hayes Reed arrived 6 months after their wedding, a small, strong boy with a mop of dark hair and large, thoughtful eyes. His birth was the final, definitive seal on their family. Sebastian's world was immediately reordered around the tiny presence. The CEO, who once scoffed at taking vacations, now meticulously managed his schedule to ensure he never missed the last feeding. He learned the specific rocking rhythm that soothed David, perfected the art of assembling baby gear, using his engineering skills to secure the safest crib assembly in Seattle, and shared the sleepless nights equally with Isabella. Sophia and Valentina embraced their roles as older sisters with competitive enthusiasm, constantly bickering over who got to choose David's outfit or read him the first story of the day. Their quiet sadness, a lingering ghost from Elena's loss, and Isabella's temporary departure, had been replaced by a joyful, protective bustle. The challenge. The enemy attacks the anchor. Life felt unassailable. Yet in the ruthless world of tech, peace often attracts predators. Sebastian's rival, a man named Martin Vega, a CEO known for his brutal, old-school tactics, had been watching the headlines. He saw the photos of Sebastian laughing in the park, the reports of his canceled late-night meetings, and the news of the new baby. Vega interpreted Sebastian's happiness not as strength, but as distraction. Vega's plan was simple: attack the anchor. If he could prove that Sebastian's focus on his new, unconventional family was compromising Hayes Tech's financial stability, he could force a hostile takeover. The first blow landed on a Tuesday morning. Sebastian was in a board meeting when he received an urgent message. SEC inquiry filed. Inquiry specifically targets QQ resource allocation and your shift in corporate presence. Anonymous leak suggesting CEO instability. Sebastian immediately knew who the anonymous leak was. Vega was trying to exploit the very thing Sebastian now cherished: his priority shift. The board meeting that followed was tense. Old guard members questioned Sebastian's dedication. "Mr. Hayes," demanded one senior investor, "you've missed several critical overseas meetings. We understand the personal adjustments, but your corporate presence is perceived as fractured. How can we assure the market that your family life is not compromising our next major acquisition?" The pressure was immense. Sebastian could have easily reverted to his old ways: yell, dominate the room, and schedule a 24-hour work session to prove them wrong. But he paused, his gaze steady. He knew he couldn't win this by denying his family. He had to win by leveraging his new truth. The final defense: the unshakable team. That evening, Sebastian returned home, unusually quiet. Isabella noticed immediately. After the girls were asleep, he showed her the ZIC filings and Vega's hostile takeover documentation. "He's attacking my time, Isabella," Sebastian said, his voice cold with recognition. "He thinks that because I'm present for dinner and reading bedtime stories, I've lost my killer instinct. He's attacking the very foundation Elena helped us build." Isabella did not panic. Her time as a trauma psychologist had given her an understanding of psychological warfare. "He's playing on their fear, Sebastian. They see a happy husband. They see a potential liability. You can't win this by denying your family. You have to win this by proving that your family makes you stronger." Sebastian looked at her, seeing his true partner in arms. "How?" "You give them the truth, filtered through your new lens," Isabella advised. "You use their fear of instability against them. You show them that distraction leads to mediocrity, but purpose leads to unprecedented efficiency. And you bring in the only person they trust, besides themselves, to verify your stability." The next day, Sebastian called an emergency board session. He walked into the room, not with an apology, but with surgical precision. He first addressed the numbers, revealing a new acquisition strategy that was leaner, faster, and projected a 15% growth increase, a strategy born from forcing himself to be efficient to get home for dinner. Then came the surprise. "Gentlemen," Sebastian announced, "you have expressed concern that my personal life compromises my focus. You believe that a dedicated family man cannot be a successful CEO. To counter this, I ask the only person whose integrity is known across both corporate and psychological spheres to conduct a full, independent assessment of my performance, stability, and future capacity." He introduced Isabella's old colleague, Dr. Eleanor Cole, the top independent psychologist specializing in high-level executive performance after trauma. Dr. Cole presented a detailed report. Sebastian was functioning at peak cognitive efficiency due to his balanced life. His decision-making had improved, no longer impulsive, and his long-term risk assessment was more stable. The core conclusion: Sebastian's family was not a distraction. It was his stabilizer and his greatest motivator. The board was stunned. Sebastian had used their own fear of instability to prove his stability. He finished with a final, unyielding statement. "Hayes Tech does not compromise its values or its CEO's personal life. If you cannot support a leader whose commitment to his family makes him a better, more ethical, and more efficient executive, then perhaps you are the liability. My position is non-negotiable." Now, let's discuss the Vega Corp takeover bid. He used the information Isabella helped him gather to predict Vega's next hostile move. The board, terrified by the thought of losing the new, ruthlessly efficient Sebastian, unanimously backed him. They successfully countered Vega's attack, turning the situation into a complete rout for their rival. Conclusion: the legacy of love. The professional victory was immediate, but the personal triumph was eternal. Sebastian had finally realized that Elena's greatest gift was not the memory, but the family she insisted he keep. Isabella was the wise partner who showed him how to fight for it. Years later, Sebastian stepped down as CEO, dedicating his time to the Elena Brooks Foundation, which provided trauma support to children. Isabella's true passion, made possible by Sebastian's wealth. Their family, Sebastian, Isabella, Sophia, Valentina, and David, thrived, their lives a testament to the unshakable power of a commitment built on truth, not just ambition. Final CTA. Sebastian proved that family is the ultimate strength. What is the most important lesson Sophia and Valentina learned from watching their parents fight for integrity? Comment below, and subscribe for more stories where love wins against all odds.